do what you want with your shoulders. You got nice shoulders.
I appreciate it, Connor. Thank you.
Welcome to Switching Reels.
Welcome to Switching Reels. Yeah.
That's staying in.
Yeah, we're keeping that for sure. How are you today?
I'm doing all right.
Fantastic.
What did we watch?
We watched Saving Mr. Major.
We watched Saving Private Ryan. Oh,
if
boy.
only they had an IPO, because then he would be Public Ryan instead of Private Ryan.
Anyway.
I'm your host, Trenton. Just so you can know who to send the hate mail to for every joke I make.
Here on Switching Reels, we have two hosts. One of them is me. The other one is you.
Me.
And
This is Connor.
you know what? I hate both of us about equally. So.
Yes. Well, that's sad. You shouldn't hate yourself. Hate me all you want.
No. I'm just saying that's an impressive feat.
Yay! I've leveled up.
Yeah.
Good. Only took a year.
Yeah. All right. So, Saving Private Ryan.
Yes.
This is one where I feel weird about starting off with recommendations, but we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, we could put recommendations past the spoiler wall, but that's telling.
Yeah.
It's a war movie.
Yeah.
It has lots of war in it, which means lots of death and viscera.
Yeah.
If you don't like either one of those, I wouldn't recommend it to you, actually. It was kind of cool otherwise, but it wasn't.
This is another one of those movies that I do feel like everyone should see once, at least. Like, I don't know.
Out of the list that you've been making of Connor says you should see it once, if you didn't see this one, I think you'd be losing the least.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only other one I've said that about was Schindler's List.
I really want to go make one of those cut edits of all the other times that you had to see this at least once.
That's fair, but I can't think of...
I'm pretty sure you said that.
Did I say that about The Godfather?
And, even more recent movies than that.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. I'll go and check.
I don't know.
It'll be a great cut together.
Most movies that we've watched so far, I'm kind of the opinion, you can watch this if you want to watch a good film, because it's a great film and everyone should watch it. But, if you don't like it, I'm not going to hold it against you.
Absolutely.
There are a few like that. But there are some where I'm like, you should just watch this, and if you don't like it, I totally understand, but you will have gained something by having watched it.
If you
no matter what
were on the fence about if war is a good idea, watch this movie. You'll love it.
It's interesting you say that. Spielberg has a semi-famous quote that I am definitely going to butcher.
Yeah.
Basically saying that there is no such thing as a pro-war movie.
There can't be.
I would actually argue against that,
Really?
especially if you look at some of the 1940s, 1950s war propaganda films. It's hard to say that it's more anti-war than pro-war.
I want to see some of those with you. It sounds fun.
They're not that good most of the time. The pro-war movies are not great.
Fantastic.
The anti-war ones are much better.
Yeah, it's easier to make an anti-war movie than a pro-war movie, in my opinion.
I also think that having a pro-war stance is really hard to hold on to.
For a long period of time.
Yeah. You can... I think what's interesting about specifically World War II, where this one is set, is this would probably be the easiest setting to make a pro-war film. Because it's the only time where you can be like, hey, no, war was completely justified here.
Yeah, if we didn't have the war in this one, there would have been other deaths.
Yeah.
It's still hard.
It is, yeah.
So,
yeah,
I would disagree with Connor. I don't think you need to watch this one, but
okay.
I also totally see where you're coming from it is a movie to watch.
Yeah. And this is one where I don't know. I feel like this is the most stereotypical favorite film that someone would have that I would still be like, no, that's a great choice for a favorite film. Like, I don't know.
I don't know that I have very many friends who would choose this as their favorite film.
Oh, I don't either. And I wouldn't choose this as my favorite film. This one probably doesn't even break my top 10.
It wasn't as good as 12 Angry Men.
I gotta hard disagree with that.
Good.
But yeah, that actually moves us perfectly into our next section.
Yes, it
does it deserve its place on the list?
I think it should be on the top 250. I don't know what it's doing in the top 30.
Wow.
I don't think it has a place here.
That's harsh.
I am saying this about the top 30 best movies of all time.
Fair.
I'd still probably put it in the low 200s.
This is definitely better than Interstellar.
What's your ratings? Move on from that blasphemy.
Yeah. So number one, I think it deserves its place on the list.
Good.
On the top 250 list.
Okay.
And I think it deserves to be
higher
here.
Okay, good.
I probably wouldn't put it much higher, other than the fact that I think that the switch from Interstellar.
Oh, I've heard that was actually a thing.
Yeah, Interstellar was below this before. Yeah. And I think that that's incorrect. The switch.
Yeah, I disagree with you wholeheartedly, and I'm excited.
This one, so from a technical, definitely a 10 from me. Enjoyment is difficult.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, the part of me that is super excited by film being done well and creating emotions.
Yeah.
Absolutely adores this film. It is well paced so that the intensity is just through the roof. And the downtime feels actually like sort of relaxing while you're still kind of like, something's coming.
Yes.
And so it's hard to, I don't know where my enjoyment is on this. I think if I'm going to take it specifically from a film standpoint of like how much I enjoy it as a film, it's still probably a 10 from me. I think that this is, I think this is an incredible, incredible film.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. So anything you guys hear from me on this one, it'll be as a normal person, not as someone that really enjoys film. I do enjoy movies. Yeah. Movies are great. This one, my enjoyment, I'm going to put at a 7. It does its technical job too well. I didn't want to be as engrossed in this movie as I was. And it's different than Schindler's List, because Schindler's List, I felt like there was some really nice, like, morals to gain from it and some really cool lessons. This one was kind of just ragging on war, which is great. Love ragging on war. Totally cool. I didn't like the characterization of the old man, Private Ryan, for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why.
It's because he was old, right?
Yes.
You hate old people.
Sure. I'm sure that's it. Yeah, that's been mentioned multiple times on this podcast so far. Please go check me, I guess. So I think technical, for some reason, I didn't like. I'll put it a 9 or 9.5.
That's a begrudging 9.
It is, because like looking back on it, technically there isn't anything that I dislike except for the characterization of Private Ryan and his family at the beginning and the end. And for some reason, it just throws me off from the like niceness and the sacrifice of the story is these stilted people. But otherwise, technically it was very good. I didn't like the content, and it engrossed me too much. And it's different than Schindler's List, because Schindler's List made me feel horror, which I like. Happy about that. This made me feel horror for no payoff to me in my heart.
Interesting. Yeah, I think, and this may be a little bit unfair, having recently looked through his filmography.
That same thing. For
I think Spielberg does his best work when he's trying to just harrow an audience. Like with this, or like with Schindler's List, or like with, to a lesser extent, Jaws. I know it made a whole bunch of people afraid to go in the water, but I just can't get on board with a horror movie where you know exactly where the killer is the entire time.
It's in the water.
And
it's always beneath you.
You know exactly how to avoid it.
I've never seen Jaws.
It's on the list. We'll get to it.
Okay, perfect.
but yeah, I think like anytime he's trying to like just grip an audience, and like just hollow them out.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Take everything out of their insides.
No, completely.
I think he does an incredible job.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. Like I said, technically, I think this was an astounding movie. I just didn't like it.
But there are a lot of films that he's done that I can't get on board with. I feel like, specifically in his later films, especially, it feels like he's kind of lost his teeth after, I guess Munich would probably be the last one that I'd say Munich was another movie he directed.
Nice.
But yeah, I think he's lost his taste for it, which is sad to me.
He got old.
All right.
So if you like what we're doing here,
like if you dislike Trenton's take on old people.
I'm learning something new about myself here, Connor. I appreciate it.
Subscribe if you like his take on old people.
Can't like and subscribe then.
And then do the other one.
And comment and send us an email. switchingrailspod@gmail.com.
All right, yeah.
Oh, summaries.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, interesting.
So this is the spoiler wall.
Yeah.
Past here.
There's spoilers.
Yeah, there be spoilers.
Here there be spoilers.
Here there be spoilers.
Want to go first?
Summary. Yeah. So, Captain Miller and his, his entire platoon. A big group of people.
Yeah, 8 of them.
No, before that.
You're right.
They storm the beaches at Normandy on D-Day. Once they get through, some people high up find out that 3 of 4 brothers have all died in combat on the same day. And so Miller's squad is sent from the beaches to go find Private Ryan, who is the last of his brothers. And he's somewhere in Normandy. Nobody knows where because he was part of the airborne and they got scattered when they were being dropped. He brings them all through. They lose some men and they find Private Ryan holding a bridge. And he says,
strong.
Yes, not holding a bridge up, holding a bridge. Against the current.
Because he's very strong.
Anyway, he says that he won't go because they're expecting a whole bunch of German troops to come through and they haven't gotten relieved. And he's not going to leave his squad behind to go home. And then they fight and they lose a whole bunch of people before he finally actually gets saved with like only 3 members of the squad still alive. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
This is why I don't like this movie. Payoff is so bad. So, in Saving Private Ryan, we're trying to save Private Ryan. We do this by disassembling a well-functioning squad and sending them out into the middle of nowhere to save one man because the generals were like, lol, this poor mom. I hope she's cute. And then they send him out. They go traipsing around Germany and
I feel it necessary to insert the comment that no one is doing this to try to get at Private Ryan's mom.
That we know. Anyway, so they try and save a kid. That goes badly, kills a guy. They try and kill a machine gun. That goes badly because it's a machine gun. They try and kill some tanks. That goes badly because they're tanks. And so in the end, really only Private Ryan is alive, and everyone else is either emotionally scarred or dead.
Yeah. All right. Now that you've had your chance to...
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Now that you've had your chance to rag on the movie from the...
I'm glad that you give me an opportunity to do a summary of my choosing. It makes me... it's a little cathartic.
I do like the way that you summarize the steps. They attack a beach. That goes poorly because there's a bunch of machine guns.
Exactly. Most of these decisions are bad. A guy takes off his hat after he's shot in the helmet, and then he gets shot in the head.
Okay, fair.
Everyone else gets shot in the helmet, and then they keep their helmet on because they're smart.
No, the people that get shot in the helmet doesn't block the bullet because it's too high caliber of a...
Or too direct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very glancing shot that guy first got.
And again, like what I brought up when you said it in the middle of the movie is, dude just got shot in the helmet. He's not thinking straight. It's basically just a piece of metal on his head.
Yeah, I know. I haven't been in combat. Full disclaimer. I have shot guns, but that is as close to combat as I have been.
You've never even I'm not saying that it's on the same level at all, but
airsoft and paintball, done both those.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I would say those are
life-threatening combat.
Those are closer in my mind than shooting guns.
Totally.
Which is why I bring it up.
That makes sense. That's a valid point.
Yeah. I will say, the opening D-Day scene, if that were just a short film in itself,
astounding.
I don't think...
I'd feel better if the movie was just that.
Really?
Yes.
It's so brutal.
I know. And it was so sad, and everyone was dying, and they zoom in on so many dying people. But I'd feel better. I'm very much on the side of every one of the soldiers at some point is like, this man had better be worth it. There's so many of us are at risk right now for one guy.
Yeah.
And that is, sadly is my vibe currently.
Weirdly, I feel like the whole point of them showing up and him saying I'm not leaving and this is where I'm gonna stay was kind of supposed to be the payoff to that.
Yeah, I know.
Because
he's a man of character. That's cool.
And I don't know, it's really hard, even with the only, 15 to 20 minutes that we actually get with him as a fleshed out character.
Yeah.
I feel like he's very well established as someone that's difficult to hate.
Exactly.
And again, it feels like maybe he wasn't worth all of the sacrifice that took them there, and especially after they stayed. But it's hard to say that he also wasn't worth it. You
absolutely. And the comments that they make very often throughout the movie is we're not doing this for Private Ryan. That isn't why we're here. One, we're following orders, and that's why we're here. We believe in the cause that we're fighting for, and therefore we're going to follow the orders that we're given. And two, I did get moments of happiness when they were reminding us, hey, we're doing this so that we in addition also deserve to go home. This is this is what makes it so that we feel that we have been honorable enough to deserve to go back home. Because we've already done awful things, and we all know that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk, and it makes sense, of rationalization in this movie, which only makes sense in a horror movie.
It's very overt as well. Like, he doesn't... Captain Miller, specifically, like, uses the word rationalization. Like, that's how you rationalize things.
That's how you rationalize it.
And it's really interesting because this movie is not particularly subtle.
No.
But I also feel like it wasn't trying to be.
It was not. No. There wasn't, like, subtle subtext that you're trying to get throughout this movie. It's all generally given to you if you hear it.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that there are some things that go under the radar because they're not, like, talked about out loud.
Yeah.
Certain themes of mercy and sacrifice and that kind of stuff are things that are definitely present here.
Yeah.
But they're not super talked about.
Yes.
And, like, one of the most interesting scenes to me in the entire thing is sort of the microcosm we get with the German soldier that is fighting I'm forgetting the guy's name. He's the guy that was in Dazed and Confused, but that's all I can think right now.
Yeah, they were in the building and they were doing machine gun fire.
Yes,
and some Germans come up on them.
Yep, and like watching him fight with this guy where it comes down to a knife and it's slowly like pushed into his chest.
Yeah.
And you can tell that it just takes a horrible effect on the German soldier.
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes back down and finds
Mr. Translator Boy.
Yeah. Translator scribe guy. And like who is already just completely shell-shocked on the stairs and just does not interact with him because he's like he doesn't want to kill anybody else.
Yep.
And it's very clear that he's like not sort of this bloodthirsty killer. He's doing what he has to as a soldier.
Just like on the other side.
Yeah, which is, I think, probably the at least for me, it's the strongest anti-war message that's in the film.
Yeah.
Is that scene right there. Because like we can see how it affects these other characters, but watching it from the perspective of the other side is just it hits different.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And I have to say it's an incredibly kind take from the guy who directed Schindler's List.
Exactly.
Like that's like it would be very easy for him to just completely villainize all of the Nazis in this. And like, I mean, fair enough.
Yep.
But also like, you got to remember they were people too.
Exactly.
Which
exactly
is messed up to think about and sucks to think about.
Yes. No, it does.
Yeah.
Like the number of people that had to be involved in World War II, just people.
Yeah.
Is astounding.
Yeah. And again, on both sides.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Heavy movie, man.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Also, can I just say the characterization of all of the members of the squad was phenomenal.
So good.
Like, I think the only one that doesn't really get enough is Kaprizov, the guy played by Vin Diesel. He's the first one that dies.
Yeah, I was like, I know his face. I'm pretty sure I knew him.
Yeah, I think the only reason he doesn't get enough characterization is because he's just not there long enough.
Exactly.
Like he's dead too early.
And you get some good characterization of like what he cares about because he's the one that complains about the messenger being shot after he's already been shot, and then he has some really really good stabs in when talking to the corporal.
Oh yeah. I will stand by the idea that I think Jackson is the best characterized. He's the sniper that is...
The sniper is so good. Poor guy.
Who's quoting Psalms through the entire
time he's shooting people.
Yeah.
He was very good at sniping.
Yeah. Well,
not good enough to dodge a
tank shell.
A tank shell, sadly.
I would say most of us probably aren't.
It's the whole like 4% of people think they could take a bear on one-on-one combat.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, I could. No, absolutely not.
Big crazy boys.
Yeah. I feel like it's that small percentage of people who know how big a bear actually is because it's relatively small.
Yeah.
But also don't
underestimate exactly how strong a bear is. They have one attack. It's swipe you once and you're dead. If that doesn't kill you, they're very confused because that's their evolutionary advantage.
I will say it depends on the bear.
That's true. Absolutely.
Certain bears, you punch them in the nose, they go away.
Yeah. No, some of them are nice and cute little boys. Some of them are not.
This is way off topic.
Way off topic. There are no bears in this movie.
No, not a single one.
Not a single one. There are
animals. Some cows.
Yeah, there are some cows. Most of them get shot.
Yeah. Well, most of them are dead before we get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably because they got shot.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
But no, the complaining scene is probably my favorite for that.
I love that. Gripe goes up the chain of command. You gripe to me, I gripe up. So good.
Say you weren't a captain and I was major.
Then I'd say.
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like this movie just hits everything that I feel it should. Mm-hmm. It hits the intensity. It hits really well fleshed out characters. And it hits its themes properly. I feel like they're fulfilled. And maybe Promise and Payoff is not done quite as well as it could be, but I feel like that is a very small price to pay for what we got out of it, personally.
Makes sense.
So, themes here. I would like to further dig into the whole mercy stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's a couple of really good pieces of mercy in this.
Specifically around the German soldier that they capture at the machine gun. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on his whole arc and showing back up at the end at the bridge?
That was the same guy?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I thought it was the guy that had killed
no.
people in the tower.
No, different dude. It was the one from, yeah. And that's why the translator...
That did just make the movie slightly better for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would have been... Wow, that would have felt very different if I had thought it was the guy from the building.
Just from the building, not from all the way back from the machine guns.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts?
Thoughts on that one? Yeah, that's a complicated one. Like, one, prisoner of war. I do think that it was the right thing to not kill him if he surrendered. See, if you do it the first time, then why not do it again after? Mostly, though, because I think the corporal is having a real bad time currently, and so kind of pushed him over the edge. But also, he was the primary proponent for letting him go to begin with, and then he came back and shot Miller.
Yeah.
So, see, I don't like these conundrums. Would I have potentially acted similarly? Maybe. Don't know that I would be very proud of it. I would have preferred the German try and find a different post. He didn't.
Had actually turned himself into the first ally patrol he found.
Yes. And since he didn't, he made the choice to go back into combat and therefore accepted the risk of getting shot.
Yeah.
And did get shot.
So one thing hit me while watching this is I think that the audience stand-in is definitely the translator, which is interesting because it's not a particularly edifying stand-in.
Yes.
But I think most people in that situation would have acted as he did.
Mm-hmm.
Like kind of saying like, no, this is a prisoner of war. Like we need to treat him as such.
Yes.
But when he comes back and everybody else has surrendered, he shoots him at point blank range.
Yeah.
And every time I watch this movie, I go, I should find out what their conversation is at the end.
Absolutely.
But I've never gotten around to it.
Maybe we'll do it after the podcast.
Yeah.
We'll see. Love that.
I'm sure somebody on YouTube has translated it.
Guaranteed.
Just dubbed it over with English subtitles. Or subbed it over.
Probably even... Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So...
Probably.
Yeah. But I do find it really, really interesting. Because I don't think it's supposed to give an easy solution. I think that they made the right call. I would say the logical part of me says that the translator did not make the right call in the second time.
Yeah.
The part of me that is a human is like, no, he absolutely should have killed him.
Totally.
So I don't know.
It's a difficult one. If I look at the context of the battle, I don't think the translator would have made that choice if not for the fact that he didn't go to the aid of the people in the building fast enough.
Yeah. That's quite possible.
It was more a retribution kill and a kind of a guilt kill than necessarily just.
Well, there's definitely
you came back.
There's definitely an element of guilt there because he was the one that was fighting to get him released.
Yeah, absolutely. Double guilt.
Yeah.
Worst kind.
And so it's.
Nope, completely agree. Is an audience stand-in a common thing?
Yeah, kind of. It's not uncommon, but it's also not like in everything.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes people will refer to like a foil character as an audience stand-in.
Got you.
But sometimes it's like specifically what a director is trying to like show as the audience.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of one that we've already seen that had one. Can't think of one right now, but like Ariadne in Inception was a foil character, right?
Yeah,
she just goes in and asks questions about the world and how it works, and so kind of an audience stand-in,
totally,
but more of a foil character than anything.
That makes sense.
This one, I feel like the translator was supposed to be like, this is what an average person would
shot a gun once.
Yeah. Fired a gun in basic training.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which actually, I think that's a great. I'd love to go talk about some technical things.
Okay.
For example, the cameras in this were astounding. I made a comment during our intermission about like. It's good. Like it's crazy that the cameraman hadn't been hit during this movie because it makes you feel very immersed.
Yeah.
You know, like there's the way that they do framing and cameras and all of the different shots are just makes you feel like you're there.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the few instances where I actually really appreciate shaky cam.
Mm-hmm.
So there, I don't even know where I saw this, but there was something that I saw about the difference between shaky cam in like one of the Bourne movies versus shaky cam in this is in all of the Bourne movies, it's usually like something crazy is going on and you can't really tell what's happening.
Exactly.
And with this, there's a very clear objective. They just need to get from the water to the
dirt,
the sand hill.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can't really tell where they are, but that's intentional. You're supposed to have a hard time understanding their progress because
that's what they're feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And so just making something confusing because it's supposed to be confusing isn't enough. It needs to be confusing and still give a very real sense of what is happening.
Yeah, and what the goal is.
The D-Day
so well.
The D-Day scene is just incredible.
No, it's really, really.
I think it's flawless cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many. Again, so that one like is the most squeamishy part of the movie.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
If you can make it through that scene, you
20
can
minutes
probably make it through the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
There are some rough scenes later.
Scenes, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I would say, as far as like, if you're going to leave because you're squeamish and not just because it's like intense and kind of upsetting, then it'll be at the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I would say the first scene does not emotionally impact me like some of the later scenes do.
Totally. Absolutely.
Specifically the machine gun section. Like that entire segment, I realized I've divided the movie into 3 acts in my head.
I was about to say, I was thinking that exact same thing, actually.
The first act ends when they have the night at the church. And at the end of that scene, it transitions. And then act 2 is them kind of searching, and they hit the machine gun. And then almost immediately after, they meet Private Ryan in the field.
Yep.
And that's kind of where I end Act 2. I might end Act 2 at the end of the machine gun, actually.
I'd probably end myself Act 2 when they decide to stay with Ryan.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
And they start going over the inventory of weapons, and that's when Act 3 starts for me.
But this is not typical 3-act structure either. Like, this is this is segments of a movie, not...
Absolutely. Completely agree.
Again, this movie doesn't really have a plot arc.
No.
It has a plot, but it doesn't really have an arc to it.
No.
And I kind of appreciate that. Like, I wish that more films would sort of embrace sort of this is a continuum. There are 3 main things. And if you want to do 3-act structure that way, that's fine.
Perfect.
But rather than having okay, this entire thing has to shift as we go. Not that I necessarily have a problem with those movies. It's just there's something that feels very real and sort of raw about this. That these characters aren't changing so much.
No.
There's
nowhere to change. They're doing another mission. They've been doing this for however long they've been doing this.
They're just being put through the ringer.
Exactly. That is all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the focus on point of view. They change points of view for a purpose in this very, very often. Normally you're in Miller's, which makes sense.
Yep.
But for the beginning of the machine gun scene, you're in the corporal's point of view because he's very, very far back, and he's able to see everyone, but not all at once. And also it's still just chaotic. He doesn't know what to look for.
Right, yeah.
He hasn't been in combat very often.
Yeah, he watches the grenades lob rather than
exactly
what's going on with the people. It's really interesting.
And there's a lot of those moments where the point of view really gives you something, especially also with the knife scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know how you can you can have I know how you can have such a low score on enjoyment, but this is one of those movies that makes me excited about cinema.
I'm so glad.
Like,
And also,
yeah.
cinema is your thing, you know? Like, it's your passion. It's something that you really, really enjoy analyzing, going to, and seeing and experiencing. Like, so
That's
I'm
fair.
not at all going to fault you for that. I get the same vibe from all the different projects that I do, and it's a great time.
Yeah.
Like, doing this with you gives me a very similar vibe. Watching the movie, it was like, hey, again, if the payoff had been more fulfilling for me, like,
Yeah.
I don't agree that Ryan was worth it. Sorry, Mrs. Ryan.
I don't know. I feel like that's kind of addressed too at the end, though. Like he's not sure he was worth it,
Mm-hmm.
and he's being assured by his family that he was.
Yeah.
And you kind of even get to see, like, his family's here. He would not have this sort of lineage if he had died.
For sure. There were 6 people that could have had 6 times as many lineage.
Fair enough.
And I'm just an awful person, so you can just go and file that away. It's a good movie. I didn't enjoy it, but it is a masterpiece. It is really, really, really a great movie.
Yeah. So
I just won't ever watch it again.
Before we close out, the sound design in this.
Oh yeah,
is
absolutely astounding.
Yeah, and I've never seen another war film that does sound as well as this.
No, I completely agree.
I think Band of Brothers probably does it similarly well, but that's a miniseries that had Spielberg heavily involved.
Nice.
So, like, I'm not super surprised.
Okay,
I
that
think
makes sense.
I even think that there was probably some, based on the timeline, it was probably this movie came out. Someone was like, hey, that was a really good movie. We've got this project that we're kind of thinking about. Do you want to be involved?
Yeah, completely.
And if we had time, I would definitely be like, let's just stop off for 3 weeks and watch Band of Brothers, because it's 10 episodes long. Each episode is like an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And it's phenomenal. I highly recommend it.
That's fantastic. After we're done with this in the next 9 years,
yeah,
like, we have things. It'll be great.
Yeah. I have considered having us go through the top 250 TV shows, but I decided that would be too long.
I don't think we could.
What do you mean?
I don't think there's enough time.
Yeah, there is.
Every TV show probably is on average 6 times the length of a movie.
I've probably seen like 50 of them.
Yeah. Do you remember how many of the top 250 you'd seen?
I'd seen like 200.
Yes. So if we just go off of that, it'll take 40 years. And I think that's a low estimate.
Oh no, we'd be old.
Yeah.
And then you'd hate us.
Exactly. I wouldn't watch this anymore. I couldn't edit this. I don't hate old people. I promise.
All right. So, our next film is...
No idea, yeah.
It's called Children of God.
We all are.
Or no, City of God, not Children of God. Yeah,
makes
not
more
to
sense.
be confused with Children of Men, which is a different movie entirely.
All of us are.
But City of God, it's...
I'm just going to assume it happens in Jerusalem.
It does not. It happens in Rio de Janeiro.
That's not the City of God.
They do have Christ the Redeemer.
That is true. They do have Christ the Redeemer.
I assume you haven't seen it.
Neither the statue nor the movie.
Oh, okay. So this one's going to be one of my top 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I adore City of God.
Perfect. I'm excited.
I actually have a friend that I need to get this back from before we watch it.
Oh, that's astounding.
So,
Perfect.
yeah, tune in next time for
a field trip.
Well, yeah, kind of.
How do we end this?